Batteries GT Performance class, Brett Peters on 119 leads Phil Polides in second and Wayne Boatwright in third position over John Bauer and Graham Alexander. In Class B, it's Nathan Pilkington on 164 in front of Nathan Thomas and Anthony Robson in third.
27 points the difference between Brett Peters in the Subaru and Phil Polides HSV Commodore. Let's see how the Subaru is suited to the Oran Park track.
Right throughout the season, I knew that finishing off the series here at Oran Park was going to be good for us. It suits the car perfectly. Probably no track better for the WRX. It has got a long straight, but it's got a tricky corner coming on, and the rest is all tight and twisty and flowing, so it's fantastic. I've had a good run so far this weekend, and Phil Polides has had a pretty wretched run, so yeah, it's looking pretty good at the moment.
And Phil Polides has made life very difficult for himself with a crash on Friday, but he'll give it his all this weekend.
No, definitely going to have a go. We haven't had the best of weekends. I made a mistake on Friday and it cost us quite a lot to hit the wall, and team stayed up all night Friday night trying to repair the car, and during qualifying we picked the softer compounded tyres and we suffered for it. They only lasted for, because of the hot conditions, only lasted for a lap and made us go backwards, so we're going to have to copy with the soft tyres and see what we can do. You're never out of it until the fat lady sings, as they say, and there's 2 races, anything can happen. And you know, we'll be going for it and trying to move up the field, and we'll see what happens, how we go.
And let's get underway with race 1 of the Century Batteries GT Production Car Championship. Final round here at Oran Park. Bob Pearson on pole position with Brett Peters alongside Wayne Boatwright and Don Pulver on the next row of the grid.
Graham Alexander in the Evo 5 from position 9. Gary Dean alongside. Then Dennis Gilbert, David Wood, Phil Polides starting well back after that big crash in qualifying. Brian Carr alongside in the Ford Mustang.
Yeah, then we go back to Jim Stewart in 17th position and Peter Roma alongside him. Should be a great battle between those two, and Tim Lay is down in 20th position, further back than we expected to see him.
Wayne Russell in the BMW 323, Mike Fitzgerald in the Nissan 200 SX Spec R, Colin Osborne, Alan Shepherd, Anthony Robson, Sue Hughes and Mark Stinson make up the rest of the field.
A huge field lining up. There's the green flag. We're now in the starters' hands and we're about to get underway with race number 1 on the program.
Yeah, 10-lapper for the final round of the Century Batteries Australian GT Production Car Championship, and all eyes certainly on Brett Peters away well in the Subaru. Phil Polides further back in the field, 27 points of difference.
A blinder of a start there too by Wayne Boatwright as we watch the 2 VWs make their way down the main straight. Those 2 cars, they may not look like race cars, but they certainly perform like them. They've been absolutely dynamic throughout the year 2001, so keep a close eye further back in the field. And there is the Mustang, driven this weekend by Brian Carr, who's putting in a fantastic performance, Craig.
Yes, he's done a great job this weekend, taken over the drive from John Bauer in the Ford Mustang Cobra RA. Scotty Anderson in the blue, the brand new 2001 model Subaru WRX STI on the screen, but Boatwright certainly jumped ahead. There's the championship leader going through now in 3rd spot. That's Brett Peters, as again Damien White joins us. Damien, great to see these 2 guys fight out this championship going into the final round.
Right through all of the ranks in the GT Production Car Championship, there's great battles this weekend, and this one's no different. I'm really looking forward to seeing the end result.
Wayne Boatwright doing it well at the pointy end of the field at the moment, but you can't help but feel a bit sorry for Phil Polides. This is his first year back in the world of motor racing, and you talk about the highs and lows of this industry, and Craig Denyer, Phil's been able to get them all within a couple of months as we see a problem on screen.
Yeah, that's Peter Floyd's car, so quite quick in qualifying, plenty of smoke coming from the rear end. This is the battle on the road for 2nd spot. Scotty Anderson, championship leader, Brett Peters just behind him. Then the pole man, Bob Pearson in the Mazda RX-7. I tell you what, also a great qualifying performance too, Damien, from Donnie Pulver in that yellow Nissan 200 SX Spec R, 4th fastest in qualifying.
Really pleased to see a different make of car further up the field. They've been working hard at that team, and a good result for them.
Here comes Brett Peters straight down the inside of Anderson. He's been able to find a way through. Can Anderson do anything on the exit? Unfortunately, it doesn't look like it for his account anyway. Brett Peters moves up into 2nd. A great effort. There they are. Wayne Boatwright, Brett Peters, now Scott Anderson back in 3rd.
Yeah, good to see the 3 different manufacturers. Oh, in fact, it looks like it's Alan Shepherd in trouble in car 44. So he slipped off.
Looks like a bulldozer making its way through the gravel trap there.
So he's come off, I'd say, at the exit of turn 1.
Been able to make his way hopefully onto the grass, and will come back out onto the racetrack and at least be able to pick up a few points for his championship hunt. There's Scott Anderson on screen at the moment. That car looks extremely stable. Certainly a quick car to be driving around Oran Park.
Yeah, that's the new model 2001 Subaru WRX STI. It's quite a bit heavier than the older versions, about 150 kilos in it, although it is running a little bit more boost, so it's taken some time to get the car competitive.
And Craig, the team have said that they have had a little bit of trouble coming to terms with the new car. It is, while there doesn't appear to be a major change in the model, it certainly hasn't equated to being exactly the same with regards to race setup out on the racetrack.
I guess so. When you consider the other cars have had some 4 or 5 years development, it won't take long to get on top of it. This is Polides, yes, the man that can challenge Brett Peters for the championship. He's 27 points behind. He'll really need to finish at the front of the field. Doesn't look like he's having a great race in race 1. Big accident in qualifying, a lot of damage to the car, so they really have been behind the 8 ball.
He'd have to be considered a real contender for next year's championship. I mean, he hasn't written this one off, of course, but this year's been a shocker. He's had his car, his transporter stolen, they've replaced it, come into the final round, he gives it a big shunt into the wall. The rear rails were bent on that car, but they've done a great job, the whole team, to get it back on track. And I think next year he's really going to focus and get a good chance.
And let's keep it in perspective too. This is his first year back since, I think, 1993 or 92. And he was, of course, racing then open wheelers and doing a fantastic job flying the flag for Australia, we should also point out. And now we see him back out on a racetrack where he very much deserves to be. Here's a good little battle with King going up the inside, down in the very, very tight and demanding section of the Oran Park racetrack that is basically an opposite camber turn that's brought 1 or 2 drivers out this weekend.
Light is trying to go with him too in the Glenford's tool setter Commodore. Wayne Russell in the BMW 323. Nathan Thomas just ahead of him. Nathan running second in Class B, the sports touring car class of the championship. In fact, the 2 Volkswagen Beetles were the fastest in qualifying, first and second. And that man there, the red and blue Mitsubishi FTO, young Sydney driver Nathan Pilkington, 164 points, leading Nathan Thomas in the Honda Integra on 121 points. Great battle between these cars, Damien. You've got the FTO in there, the BMW, the VW Beetle RSI, Toyota Celica, Honda Integra.
Yes, Craig, and when these fans come and pay their dollars, they want to see a good mixture of cars racing. That's exactly what they've got here. A good battle of mixes and breeds, all under $80,000. A fantastic opportunity for them to assess what they might like to buy for the road.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. The cars that we have in your showroom are basically the cars that you're seeing out on a racetrack at the moment. And it's a good gauge to how they will perform. As we watch Phil Polides coming under a bit of a charge at the moment. There's a few behind him. There's that smoke coming from the back of Peter Floyd's HSV 300 kilowatt. It looks like it might just be an overflow because it doesn't seem to be washing off any of the speed of that car, Craig.
Anton Mitchell down the outside of Bob Pearson. In fact, Brian Carr trying to run with him too in the Ford Mustang Cobra RA. Great qualifying performance too from Mitchell this weekend. Good to see that he's got the Evo 5 competitive.
Well, once he's racing, there's no doubt about that. And he's putting in a really good performance this weekend. Looking for a top 10 finish.
Donnie Paul been the surprise so far of this race. Continuing to be competitive in the Nissan 200SX Spec R. There's Carr in the Ford Mustang trying to apply the blowtorch to the back of Mitchell's Evo 5.
He's having a great deal of fun out there at the moment. Had some fun earlier on today, but now he's right into this car and dialed himself up nicely. Gets right up onto the tail of Anton Metchler, this time around through the tighter sections of the Oran Park race circuit. Let's see what he can do if he can manage to gain an upper hand. He's been able to overtake a few cars as Floyd gets it right out onto the dirt. And some words from the pits. We believe that Phil Polides' bad luck has continued here at Oran Park. Let's go down to the pits and find out exactly what's happened to the luckless Phil Polides.
We started getting misfire and the engine started overheating, so we're not sure what caused it. We were forced to put a number plate that used to have a bent number plate on the front so it can circulate air through the engine. We were forced to put on a square one, and I think they may have caused it, so it wasn't worth risking. The temperature just kept going higher and higher and had to pull it in. I was doing pretty well, I think, up until that point.
I'm not really sure I agree with that theory on the number plate. I mean, there's another 40 cars out there that have got that, but wasn't it good for Paul Wright?
Great for Paul Wright, there's no question about that. Thanks, Damien. As we again look at Wayne Boatwright, our race leader now, Brett Peters in second spot on the road. I tell you what, this guy's done a great job this year too. And
Wayne Boatwright's luck continues here at Oran Park Raceway in race number 1. He comes down across the line now and takes the checkered flag in the WRX. Brett Peters will finish in second, and coming up onto the main straight at the moment, Scott Anderson comes down across the line. He will finish third.
Yeah, Graham Alexander coming across the line to take the checkered flag, fourth outright, but Boatwright, by virtue of that, will now move close to second spot in the championship. Unfortunately, Phil Polides, being a non-finisher, will just about hand the championship to Brett Peters.
And in behind Graham Alexander was Mark King. He did a great job, and Tim Lay in the VW comes up onto the main straight. This car has performed sensationally well, particularly at the hands of Tim Lay this year.
Yeah, great to see the VWs get another tremendous result here at Oran Park. In fact, Stuart McCall coming through to make it 1-2 for VW. So Boat Right, the race winner from Peters, Anderson, Graham Alexander and Mark King.
Then we go back to Class B. Tim Lay in front of Stuart McCall and Nathan Thomas in third position. But it's a great win for Wayne Boat Right.
We had a win here last year at Oran Park at what was only our second race meeting, so we're pleased to do the same here, and I think that just about wraps up second for us in the championship as well.
And a great second spot has allowed Brett Peters to clinch his very first championship.
You know, we had a couple of problems, but everyone does, and you know, they are production cars after all. You drive the absolute wheels off them, and they do break occasionally. So, you know, other guys had their fair share of bad luck early in the season. We had ours in the middle. So, no, but look, these guys, you know, Rad Speed team, unbelievable. They just work so hard, as so many people know, and we got over those little hurdles, and we've done it.
Let's pick up the action for race 2 of the Century Batteries GT Performance class as we watch the cars come out onto the track, Craig Denyer. This promises to be a thriller with Wayne Boat Right on pole, Brett Peters alongside, then Scott Anderson, Graham Alexander and Mark King in 5th position.
Yeah, final race, final round of the Century Batteries Australian GT Production Car Championship. Peter Floyd, Dennis Gilbert, Bob Pearson in the Mazda, Mark Stinson, Gary Dean, Peter Roman, Michael Brock and Tim Lay, first of the Class B cars in the Volkswagen Beetle RSI.
And his teammate Stuart McCall sitting right behind him, then Peter Boylan, Nathan Thomas and Nathan Pilkington down in 20th position. It promises to be an absolute thriller as they make their way around to come up onto the grid to line up for race number 2 on the program.
Phil Polides way back. Unfortunately, his championship chance is blown by not finishing in race 1 today, so Brett Peters has wrapped up the title as we go into this final 10-lap race.
Well, Wayne Boat Right led them to the checkered flag in race number 1. Will Brett Peters be able to gain the upper hand in race 2? We'll soon know because they're on the starting grid and almost ready to go.
Sue Hughes in the BMW 325 coming down to take up her grid spot. Anthony Robson in the Toyota MR2. Alan Shepherd's Honda Integra Type R. There's Phil Polides. Unfortunately, a luckless weekend for Phil. Plenty of damage after that big qualifying crash and a DNF in race 1.
And we are set for a start in race 2. On board with Brett Peters for the start. A great one by him. But look, Wayne Boat Right already squeezing him as they go down the straight. He gains the lead. Now Peters flicks to the inside to try and get a running and also protect his racing line. But it's going to be Wayne Boat Right, Craig, that leads them through turn 1.
And look at the four-wheel drives at the front of the field. I think in the top 5 positions. Then Donnie Pulver coming through on the Nissan 200 SX Spec R. But Subaru's 1-2. It's Boat Right and Peters riding now with Timmy Lay in the Volkswagen Beetle RSI back there in the sports touring class. And also Brian Carr coming through in the Ford Mustang Cobra RA.
An absolutely enormous field out here this weekend, and Damien White, it must be very, very difficult if you're a midfield to try and stay out of trouble.
It's an awful feeling being in the middle amongst all of that, but how about Phil Polides, who right at the back of the field in the big GTS 300 kilowatt Colton Commodore.
And on board with Brett Peters as he gets right up onto the tail of Wayne Boat Right, has a look around the outside, going down through the S's, can't find a way past. Oh, have a go at that. Bit of push and shove.
Tries to make a run down the inside. Boat Right, though, shuts the door. Damien White fairly intense at the front of the field.
I think as he entered into the S's, Boat Right got it a bit wrong, which of course wrecked his the following corner, which of course left Peters with nowhere to go other than in the back of him.
Well, it's a great battle at the pointy end of the field. We've still got the Wayne Boat Right, Brett Peters and Graham Alexander comes up into the hunt now. So it's a three-way go for the outright win. Oh, very wide there by Alexander as he got right out near the concrete wall, Craig.
Riding now with Brett Peters, so we'll watch the car speed, the difference between these two cars down the main straight at Oran Park. Peters looked like he had the legs, but no, Boat Right's been able to shut the door as they go down to turn 2. Peters, of course, can now drive. I guess Damien relaxed in the fact that he's actually wrapped up the title and can just drive this one for the win.
He can, but do you reckon they look like they're relaxing? No chance. These guys want to win every race they're in.
Oh, problems there for car number 38, off into the dirt.
Yeah, that's Captain Chaos, Dennis Gilbert. He's a regular at that sort of stuff.
Just trying to pick up where he's come off. I think it's down towards turn 1. Yeah, it certainly is. Also, Mark King's come up into this battle for the outright lead. First, second, third, and King back in 4th.
Mark King, the current champion, car number 1, had a shocker of a year, plenty of car speed, but unfortunately luck hasn't been with him in 2001.
And here we see again Brett Peters all over the back of the Boat Right. I think that Peters' car is much better set up for that section of the track, and Peters is certainly going to try to work that over and make a move on Boat Right as the race goes on.
He is putting an absolute mountain of pressure on board Wayne Boat Right as they head down into Momo. Has a look up the inside. Wayne Boat Right protects his racing line coming up onto the straight. They are nose to tail. Here's the battle further back in the field for Class B, the Hippies Class B cars. Tim Lay currently in the Volkswagen at the pointy end of the back, and still smoke coming from the back of Floyd's car.
Yeah, hard to pick up what that one is, though, but Pilates has certainly come through the field to be onto the back of Peter Floyd's car. Michael Brock there in the Brock and Partners Evo 5, chasing down Gary Dean. Anton Metchler's Evo 5, the red one just in front of these two on the road.
Watching them now come down across the strike to complete another lap. We've spoke in the first race about Anton Metchler doing a great job this weekend. It looks good to finish well and truly in the top 10. Let's keep our fingers crossed for the good doctor as he makes his way into turn 1. On board with Tim Lay, working real hard behind the wheel of the Beetle.
And the car in front of him, of course, he won't catch, is the BMW M3 of your boss, Damien White. Peter Boylan, what a beautiful car.
Gorgeous car. Might I say a gorgeous driver? No, don't say that. But the team is struggling a bit with a few technical features of the BMW M3. It's a highly advanced car and there's lots of gadgets and gizmos that we're trying to get our heads around. So once that happens, I'm sure you'll find next year it'll be a much more competitive car.
On board again with Tim Lay. Just happened to notice that Brett Peters has fallen off the pace of Wayne Boatwright a little bit at the pointy end of the field. And there they are, the two magnificent V-dubs, nose to tail.
Yeah, great drive this weekend too from Stewie McCall, having his first drive other than at Mount Panorama Bathurst, where I don't think he actually got to steer because Will Davison crashed the car on top of the mountain. But a great performance from Greg Siddle and all the boys at VW Australia to have these cars so competitive this weekend at Oran Park.
Look how smooth they are down through this super fast section of the racetrack. As I say, that McCall just starts to get into a little bit of a drift, but they're a very, very good race car and doing a great job in Class B in 2001. Here's the battle at the pointy end of the field. Wayne Boatwright still leads. Brett Peters and Graham Alexander in third. Mark King's just fallen off the pace just a little bit. Unfortunately for Peters, he has not been able to find a way around Wayne Boatwright, who is protecting his line well and certainly has plenty of paint from Brett Peters on his rear bumper bar at the moment, down through the S's. This is a wild part of the racetrack, Damien White, to have somebody leaning on you.
Well, it's sort of left, right, up, down, off camber. With the camber, it's a high action part of the track, and it's quite frustrating when you're behind someone as Peters is, and you can feel that your car's quicker, but it's such a tight, tricky part of the circuit, it's very difficult to find a way past. It looks like that Peters has got an advantage, but not in the right part of the track.
Well, great to see Brett's picked up backing this weekend from Camera House to wrap up his first championship, 36 years of age, comes from Redcliffe in Queensland, is a photographic retailer. Had a first race win, would you believe, at the Sandown 6-hour race in 1997 for Porsche. So he's been around a long period of time, but has not yet taken out a championship victory until this weekend.
Roma starting to come under some pressure over the top of the dog leg. That car just a little bit twitchy at the moment. Working hard behind the wheel. As Peter Boylan gets right up onto his tail, coming up onto the main straight.
Isn't that a fantastic looking car, that Quirks Refrigeration M3? Peter Boylan's doing a fantastic job. You know, he's not as young as me, that's what I'll say, and I think he's doing a fantastic job out there.
Dennis Gilbert in the Casterton Gilbert Evo 5, Anthony Robson in the superb little Toyota MR2, the Bathurst model Toyota MR2. But back in the front of the field on their last lap, it's Wayne Boatwright. Peter's still pressuring him all the way to the flag.
An up and down sort of a year for Wayne Boatwright, but this time he's going to end the season on a winning note. That's the best way to do it. Protects his line going down into the final turn. Nothing Brett Peters can do. It's going to be a photo finish for the win, but it's going to be Wayne Boatwright that comes down and takes the checkered flag in race 2 for the Century Batteries GT Performance class. Second, Brett Peters, Graham Alexander third, and Mark King a good fourth.
Scotty Anderson coming through in the late model 2001 WRX STI. There's Boatwright, the Altiris Subaru, 2 out of 2 this week at Oran Park. But you can't take it away from our championship winner, Brett Peters, as we look at the Volkswagens. 1-2 in the sports touring class, coming up to take the checkered flag.
Yeah, the formation finish in the final round. Tim Lay leads them up onto the main straight. Stu McCall sitting in right behind him. Side by side, they come down, take the checkered flag. A great performance by both of those guys this weekend, and a great performance by the team. Wayne Boatwright, your outright winner, over Brett Peters, Graham Alexander in third position.
Class B, Tim Lay from Stuart McCall, David Radcliffe and Alan Shepherd.
That was really hard work. Brett was right behind us all the way, but we're glad to walk away with second in the championship, and obviously a couple of wins today.
You guys have really brought the sports touring class alive this year with the Volkswagen Beetle. An enormous amount of crowd support, we notice.
Yeah, oh, they love it. Yeah, it's a really, I mean, it's just, you know, it's a Beetle and people love it, and fortunately it goes really well.
Well, Brett Peters wraps up the championship, 143 points in the superbly prepared Rod Dawson Subaru from Wayne Boatwright, 115.5. In Class B, Nathan Pilkington takes it from Nathan Thomas. The FTO from the Honda Integra, and Tim Lay third in the Volkswagen Beetle RSI.
But outright in 2001, it's Brett Peters that takes the title in front of Wayne Boatwright, who slips up in front of Phil Pilates. Mark King back there in 6th. A great performance by him, Ed Aitken and Gary Dean.
Well, Brett Peters, when you sat down with Rod Dawson at the start of this year, did you really think you'd win this year's Century Batteries Australian GT Production Car Championship for Subaru?
No, truthfully not. I mean, we thought we'd have a fair crack at it. We'd be competitive. Rod assured me the car was great, and he certainly delivered the goods. The team's worked fantastic. The car's been unbelievable, and I've just had the easy job of steering it.
Nathan, congratulations, your very first year in GDP and your first championship win. What happened in race 2 though today?
I was going down past into turn 2 underneath the bridge, and there's a bit of a pothole that's just started to break up on the edge of the track. I hit that, and I was coming down the straight, and I think that's blistered the tyre, and it's just blowing. So first race I haven't finished for the year, yeah.